Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk, the most fact-driven, unbiased true crime channel, explaining to you what is going on in the legal community and what it really means. We don't get into the complete speculation. We like to stick to the facts and the law. Thanks for watching. For those of you who are regular subscribers and viewers, appreciate you all coming back. I understand you have lots of things you could choose from out there, and the fact that you watch us is greatly appreciated. I'm here behind the Crime Talk microphone after at least a 1 week hiatus, and then I guess I had a little window, and then prior to that I was in Houston for a CLE, so it's good to be back. You know, there's nothing like coming back from vacation and literally as you're landing, getting text messages saying, hey, sorry to bother you, Scott. This is on a Saturday night, like at 8 p.m., but such and such, needs to be taken care of. Back to reality. But that's life. You got to deal with it. And so there you are. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, haven't been alive, like I said, in a couple of weeks. We've had some obligations that we had to take care of. Then I was out of town on vacation celebrating the lovely Miss Kristen's birthday. But like I said, we're happy to be back, happy to be behind the Crime Talk microphone here in the Crime Talk studios, and we're ready to do this. So like I said, for those of you who are not familiar with Crime Talk, maybe this is the first time you've watched it, my name is Scott Reisch. I'm a practicing criminal defense attorney going on year number 26. Prior to being in private practice, I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was a judge advocate there. So literally done just about every type of criminal case you could possibly imagine. So when I'm telling you this is what should be happening, this is what's kind of going on behind the scenes, I'm speaking from experience, okay? And it was interesting. I was able to actually watch some videos while I was laying on the amazing beach in Turks and Caicos. And I say that not to say, oh, look, I was on the beach in Turks and Caicos, but I am telling you, this was one of the most beautiful places I have ever been in my life. There's a natural barrier reef. I think they said it was the third largest natural barrier reef in the world. First being the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, then the one I think down in Central America, and then this one that goes all the way around the islands of Turks and Caicos. So there's really no waves. And the water was like going into a swimming pool, but you were in the ocean. You could see down. It was blue. It was clear. I know we put a couple of those pictures up of the water, I think on the community page. And I just don't know how else to describe it other than it was the most amazing beach I've ever been to. And I thought the beaches like in Koh Samui, Thailand were pretty darn spectacular. No, Turks and Caicos beaches are the best. All right. You didn't come here to listen to me talk about beaches on vacation, but the point that I was trying to make was that I actually got a little opportunity to watch some videos, because sometimes I don't always get a chance to do that, at least not in depth. And it helped me reaffirm, hopefully, that what we're doing and doing it correctly. There are lots of people out there doing true crime stuff, and lots of people some of them get some amazing big views on their video, and it was so much speculation. I couldn't believe it. I watched one where they were literally trying to say when the charges were being read that the way they pursed their lips at that particular moment must mean that they are guilty. Oh my God. That's all I had to say. This is how you are going to come to deciding whether somebody was innocent or guilty by the way they pursed their lips when a charge was read. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. Like, is that what we have come to in America these days, where that's how we want to judge guilt or innocence? Last time I remember, it was based upon the evidence or the lack thereof. Now, don't get me wrong. I can appreciate, having a defendant next to me, having horrible charges read aloud, and the jurors looking at your client, and you want him to, or her, to act pretty calm, cool, and collected when all that's going on. But I hope that most jurors are not going to base their opinion on one's pursing of their lips when a charge was being read. Okay, think about it. Let's just say, hypothetically, you were accused of a terrible crime and you're sitting there and there's cameras in the courtroom. How are you going to act? Okay. Now, in YouTube world, apparently you're supposed to, maybe you have a fidget, maybe you have whatever. But in the YouTube world, apparently that's guilty. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it, because that, it's just not right. Okay. And I've had clients that completely normal. They go into court, they start fidgeting. They don't know what to do. They're nervous. Never been in trouble. I've had people, minor charges. I'm like, you could do this by yourself. In all honesty, this is what's going to happen. This is going to be fine. No, I want you there because I don't want to have to deal with something that goes, how they're going to do it, so to speak. I mean, they just get nervous. It happens all the time. So I just could not believe that. So some of the stuff that I was, live broadcast, you never know exactly what's going to happen. Like when I came and sat down this evening and went to turn on my computer that was here in front of me and completely froze. In fact, it's still doing it. So I've got the backup iPad so I can see the comments here. So here we go. Matt. So now I got the comments up because I was able to get that up as well. Matt, people think a few YouTube body languages vids make them pros. Yeah. I have to do a lot of kind of the study in psychology. What does this mean? What do people think? Body language. How do you present yourself? How do you, warm, open, inviting, all those types of things. I get it. But I saw this video but look at this. When this charge was read, look at the way they pursed, and it was different from the last time. Ha ha! It must mean he's guilty. I was just like, oh my goodness. Please tell me. I mean, I guess it's good speculation. Gets the views and, maybe get a few subscribers out of it. But I just couldn't believe that people would say, oh my God, that's how interesting. The person wasn't even didn't have any training in anything. It was just their, good editing. I'll give them that. But I just can't believe that that's what they would hang their hat on, so to speak. So that was a good thing about going on vacation. That's usually the best time I do it because I don't get to really watch the other channels and things like that because I just don't have time to do so. When you have the practice of law, other things going on, you do the best you can. And if I get to do it, it's usually, if I can't sleep at night, try to find something. But frankly, I usually try to watch videos. And the lovely Miss Kristen will attest to this, and she hates it when I don't put the timer on. But it'll be videos. I literally hit the voice command flying on YouTube. And so pretty exciting stuff. But I actually looked at true crime. Mandy, well, that's why your channel is fact-driven. And that's what we try to do here. We try to get the facts correct. We try to explain the law, not one's body language, which indicates, listen, I ask that question in voir dire, particularly if I have a pretty good idea whether my client's going to testify or not. And I'm telling you, and maybe some of our subscribers or viewers here can tell me if they've ever had to testify. Everybody thinks, oh, I'll just get up there and testify. It's a lot more difficult than you actually believe it would be. And that's why it's so important to have testimony under oath in court, because some people are very calm, cool, and collected. Other people react. Other people don't think. Other people take it out of context. And you get to see exactly what's going on. There's no rehearsal, so to speak. It's live theater at that point. But some people get very nervous, and you have to know what your client, listen, you got to make eye contact. You got to listen to the question. You have to stop, literally turn and talk to the jury like you're talking to your friends at the dinner table, explaining your side of the story. And some people just have mannerisms, nervous mannerisms, when they get nervous. Does that mean they're guilty? Does that mean they're telling the truth? It doesn't. So, yes, I get it. You have to judge a witness's credibility on the stand. But you also have to take into a fact that if people are not professional witnesses, right? Everyone's always like, well, the police officer came in and he was testified. So they go to school and practice that. They actually have to take updated courses. Yes, I appeared on the traffic stop on this particular date and location at this time. It was then and is now located in the state of blank, city and county of blank, city of this. So we have jurisdiction. I, pre-recorded or tested my equipment beforehand. It worked. He said I was speeding. They could do that stuff in their sleep. They practice it. Your clients usually don't get to practice it that much. Sometimes you have to practice it, but you don't want it to come across as practiced. So, and literally somewhere sitting there, I've been in court where I've had to listen to a, order ruling come down, and the grimaces on my face are probably, oh, I can't believe that job, right? I mean, that was the beautiful thing, I guess, about going to court or doing a trial with COVID, was that you had to wear masks. Because, when your jaw drops when somebody says something or you're just grimacing or they can't read it, what is that? It doesn't mean that, oh my God, my case. It's just like, I could be thinking this witness is a complete idiot. Or that question that the attorney asked at the podium, that was terrible. My God, a third grader could have asked a better question. So I just don't put a whole lot of stock in, oh, look, they grimaced. Oh my gosh. If you notice here, his little mouth just came out just a little bit. It must mean he's lying. I just couldn't believe it. But hey, if that's what people want to do it, that's great. Just please, if that's what you're going to make your decision on, please, never be on a jury if that's how you're going to make your decisions. Just Jimmy. I've been calm and cool, but never collected. Well, you got to try it sometime. It's pretty good. Let's see here. Some of these other questions. All right. So anyway, I think we've kind of done our little intro there. Let's see. How was Lori able to text with her former cellmate? This is from Frasia Dragon. How was Lori able to text with her former cellmate? Am I not up to speed on something on that one? I'm not sure where that's coming from. I'm sorry. I just don't know. But we'll take a couple questions. So, like I said, we have a lot we can talk about today's show. Hopefully y'all had a chance to look at that. South Carolina, I still think that's going to be a very, very interesting case, that Murdaugh case. You have, this is something kind of written for TV, the really well, funded, well-off family. The kid clearly sounds kind of like he's got some issues. Has criminal case pending against him, winds up with his mom shot and killed. That's good stuff, and they have no real leads at this point. But, try not to speculate. It could have been somebody. Apparently, this guy had a different personality when he drank, the young Murdaugh. There's people that were unhappy with the handling of the case of Ms. Beach in that particular case, the young lady who passed away. I think that's going to be I'm just telling you, I don't know. We'll see how things go, but I think it's going to be a very interesting case. And I kind of watched the stuff in South Carolina only because when I was in the Marine Corps, I was stationed in South Carolina, down there in Beaufort County at Parris Island, South Carolina. Best 4 years of my life, although I had some pretty good duty stations just on the time I was in. But that was pretty darn good, and I still have a little house down there, so I have to go check on it occasionally. But I watched the area. I love it. I was down there over, what did we have, Memorial Day weekend, right? Was the last one. Went out there Memorial Day weekend, was with friends that I met in the military. You know, I have been friends with them for, my gosh, 26 years now, I guess. And so it's, I love that. So, but I keep kind of just watch it because it's kind of my adopted home state, I'd like to refer to it as, even though I was born and raised here in Colorado. And other than when I was in the military, I've been in Colorado, but I always joke with the lovely Miss Kristen that we're going to have to settle down in South Carolina. She's got a problem with the humidity, only reinforced by the humidity in Turks and Caicos this week. So I'm not sure that's going to happen, but we'll have to see. Scott, why have you not covered the Vanessa Guyon case more? I think we did cover that case. That was the one down in Fort Hood, I think. The guy, I think, was on video, right? I think he can basically confess. I don't think there's much going on there. We can always, we'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Kay, thanks for the super chat. And like I said, nobody asks for super chats, but we certainly do appreciate them. At least I do, because they highlight on my screen and I can see them. So Kay Sunshine. Hi, Scott. You have started something on YouTube, the defense attorney channels. I've been listening to you since Chris Wass. You're the best. Thank you very much. I always appreciate those kind words. We hope we, bring some value to it and try to explain things. We try to put a video up 6 days a week, Monday through Friday. We even did it when I was on vacation, even did it when I was down at the CLE, because, I literally have people that tell me I miss, if we miss a day, where were you? I needed Scott making dinner. I watch, Scott before we go to bed. So I feel somewhat obligated to make sure we try to get some new content out there every day for our subscribers. So I appreciate that. Okay, Shadow on a super chat. They did not kill Charles or the kids. Remember, they were zombies and had been taken over by demons. That's right. Blame it on the zombies. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Someone's here saying they never got into the Durst trial. Gave it a try. Try watching it. I think the Durst trial started again, didn't it? Or it's getting real close to starting again. Just Jimmy. Good question, Scott. Doesn't it seem like juries over the last 30 years don't seem to realize that beyond a reasonable doubt is a lot more stringent than, just it seems plausible? That's a good question, and some judges are very, very good at explaining reasonable doubt. And I personally like to always educate the jury when I do voir dire by giving an example. Okay, usually have a juror that's been on a civil case. Hey, will you tell me what the standard of proof is in a civil case? Well, the standard of proof in a civil case is preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not. So if you had a scale and it tipped just a little bit, that's a preponderance of the evidence. And then normally you can find a teacher on the panel and you can ask, oh, you're a teacher. In your teaching career days, have you ever met somebody that you thought was maybe a bad parent? And of course they kind of chuckle and, oh, well, maybe a couple of them. Yes, I have. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What would be the standard of proof if the state said that they were going to take your child away because you were a bad parent? And it's kind of a trick question because most people are not going to know that. Because the legal standard in most jurisdictions is, excuse me, that was weird. Oh, brain freeze there all of a sudden. So the standard now is clear and convincing evidence. So I'm sorry. So the standard to take away somebody's child as a bad parent, right? Clear and convincing evidence. And because you asked it, like, well, don't you think if you're a bad parent, you don't want to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt? But no, it's clear and convincing evidence. And of course, the prosecutors always object. Oh, judge, you're confusing. No. And judges always allow it because it's the truth. Okay. And then you say, what is the legal standard on whether it's a traffic ticket, a DUI, a misdemeanor assault, or a homicide? Homicide, a traffic offense, everything in between. It's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Okay? It's the highest form of proof known in the law, not only here in the United States, but anywhere in the world. Okay? Why do we have such a high legal standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt? And people say, well, because, it's a serious case. Well, isn't taking away your children a serious case too? Yes. Well, then you bring it in. Why? Because we're talking about someone's liberty, their freedom, right? If it's a civil case and they say, oh, you get it wrong, you give the money back. It's money and you can always go and make more. Maybe if the state, they made a decision, you're a terrible parent, they take your kid away, and, when the kid turns 18, they can always go talk with the kids. Maybe they can do something to redeem themselves to get the kids back, right? But you probably messed up pretty good if they're taking away your kids, okay? But somebody's liberty, their freedom, how do you give that back if you're wrong? You don't, right? And think about all the cases that you hear about where somebody spent 20, 30, 40 years in prison or on death row for a murder they didn't commit, a serious crime that they didn't commit, right? It takes that long, and it's taken changes in evidence to do that, but these people have been maintaining their innocence, doing everything they can to try and get back in front of the court for decades, right? So proof beyond a reasonable doubt, because you don't get a second chance at it again. Because if the jury gets it wrong, there's consequences to that. There really are. So that's why we have proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, most people don't know this, but you won't find proof beyond a reasonable doubt like in the Constitution, right? Most of our fundamental principles that we apply in criminal law come from the Bill of Rights. The 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th Amendment, 4th, unreasonable search and seizure, 5th, due process, self-incrimination, right to counsel, cruel and unusual punishment under the 6th and 8th, respectively. So where did they come up with this proof beyond a reasonable doubt? It goes back to the old English common law. And it's kind of interesting. And I've done some research on it, but I can't say I'm an expert. And I can't say, oh, yeah, that's where it started. There's kind of different versions. But really, proof beyond a reasonable doubt was the standard because it was thought that if you were a juror and you weren't convinced beyond a reasonable doubt and so you basically wrongfully convicted somebody, that your soul would go to hell for eternity. That's how serious they took that legal standard. Now, that's kind of faded away. People are always like, well, why did the founding fathers create it? Well, they really didn't. But that's the legal principle and standard that we have. But I mean, think about it. Back in the common law days of England, this whole jury trial, a jury of your peers was kind of a new idea, even if it was kind of a sham under the king at some point, right? But they want to make sure they get it right. And my experience is that most jurors take their jobs very, very seriously. And they do their best to make the best decision they can. We've all had cases. I had a case that still keeps me up at night. It just drives me bonkers. Because, we talked to some of the jurors and they're like, well, we had one juror and she was convinced and, we're just going to compromise. Are you kidding me? You compromised? I mean, I would rather you say we can't make a decision. Hung jury, I will go do it again than just to compromise. Still irks me to this day. So, I mean, I think they do it right, but, you hear about the cases where people have been wrongfully convicted. What is it usually? There's new DNA evidence came back, but what were they so certain of back in the day? Identification, right? We've talked about it. What does the prosecutor have to prove? Identity, right? The prosecutor has to prove that it was the defendant, not somebody who looked like the defendant, but not somebody using the defendant's identity, but it was the defendant that committed the crime. Okay? That's key. And when you find out these people, they got wrongfully convicted. I was reading a story today. We didn't talk about it on the show, but the guy's been in custody for 40 years. And everybody agrees, yep, sorry, wrong guy. He had an alibi at the time, but they didn't believe it because the witness who testified that said that the guy was there recanted her story and said basically she was pressured by the cops to say that was the guy that was there. I don't know. Let me show you just real quick. Frank, can we turn on the little the little prompter thing? So let me show you a little trick. The projector. Yeah.
Okay, take it 1 second. Okay?
Let me show you what every prosecutor has to prove. And here's the little cheat sheet. So I just turned over a piece of paper here, but it's referred to as a loved. Okay, and I always do it. We have little intake forms, so literally, if somebody could pick up a file in my office, you could, okay, what's the offense, right? Loved. Okay, what does the L stand for? The location. So you write in, 123 ABC Boulevard. So you know where that is. What's the offense? Well, let's say first degree murder, right? Some people say this is venue, but I like victim, right? Let's put the dead guy's name in there, right? So dead guy 1. ID, right? We'll come back to that in a second. And then date and time, right? Identification. What witness is going to come in and point the finger at your client, right? That's what they need, okay? And, everybody tries to make a case really complicated, but when you read, charging documents, like I could flip this over here, right? And what do the charging documents really say, right? So this one here, it's not a good one. That's the Vallow indictment, but let me flip it over, get to an actual charge. But, they allege on or between, 8th day of September in 2019, right? In the county of Madison, location, then the offense, the victim, the deceased person, and they're accusing the defendant. So how are they going to prove that? That's really what every element, the bulk of the case is. Did it take place in the jurisdiction where it's appropriate, proper venue? And you can do change of venues for that issue. What's the offense? Is it one offense, multiple offenses? Who's the victim? How do you know that they're really deceased, right? That's why they like to have a body. Or if they don't have a body, what evidence do we have that we can show that they are in fact deceased? How are they going to prove that, right? That's always what makes homicide cases a little more difficult because you don't have a victim coming in. Think about it. If you have a, let's say a domestic violence situation, you've got the victim that's going to come in and has to come in and say, that's the bad man. That's the bad man that, hurt me when he grabbed my wrist. And they got to prove the date and the time, right? So it's not beyond the, statute of limitations. So little trick there. It's always nice to have, when we do cases, our little intake sheet, we do a little summary of it right there, a little more in depth. We go into, sentencing, aggravators, all those types of things. But that's really what you need to know for just about any case. I'm sure somebody will take that, follow it, probably say Scott had he must have twerked his lip at this point, and therefore he'd maybe not be telling the truth. But just a little trick there that we can talk about. All right, so wow, already halfway through the show. Let's take a look at some more comments here, the highlighted ones. For treats for Miss Winnie. Oh, thanks, Lynn2574. Saying the time. Let's see here. Seems more likely a malignant. Sometimes it's hard to tell because there's sometimes comments going on within a conversation with people. Patricia Seymour. I think Mark Means wants to be the husband number 6 for Lori Cox. I'm not even going to go there, but it seems like he's taking a very personal interest in it. The request that he somehow be involved in regards to her restoration to competency. I saw something today, late this afternoon. Police officer said that's the most ridiculous thing they've ever seen. The prosecutors stated that as much in their motion. I've had people sent down for competency. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever gone down to visit. I've talked to the doctors beforehand when they are usually doing the evaluation, because doctors like to say, hey, what did you observe? What did you see? Try to get as much information about what the defense attorney's concerns were if they raise competency. But I've never gone down to say, hey, doc, how are things going? What's your plan for restoration? I think I may want to be involved in that. Never have done that, nor would I, frankly, impose on that. So I'm not really sure why or where Mr. Means thinks that he would do that or be able to do that. I just don't get it. And like we talked about in the video today, and nothing against civil litigators, okay? Because we do civil litigation here in my firm, but I hate it, all right? I mean, we do it, but it's a pain in the ass. And let me tell you why it's a pain in the ass. When you have a criminal case, you get the discovery, whether, it's just a pack of paper back in the old days and some videos, and now it's all digitally loaded, but you download it and you got a stack of discovery and you're looking at page 1 through 1,000. That's your discovery, man. What you do with it is up to you. You go out and re-interview witnesses. You do what you need to do. You've got short deadlines in which to get things done, make things happen for your client, okay? In the civil world, okay, let me just give you a quick rundown. In the civil world, somebody files a complaint. Somebody files an answer to the complaint saying deny, 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 deny. Then you do disclosures, which is where you turn over. Here's all the medical records. Here's any witness statements we have. Here they are. Then the other side will look at them, review them, whereupon they will then ask further questions based upon what was in the discovery. Then they'll schedule depositions to talk about the answers in the written interrogatories, to go over them again in a deposition. And in the time that you prepared responses to all of those repetitive questions that could be answered if you just read the discovery, you could have tried the case in less time. And then you have to go to a deposition to go over the exact same stuff that was in the police reports, in the disclosures, okay? And that's why I hate civil litigation. It just, in the criminal world, most of the time, the witnesses in your case, most of the police officers, they don't talk to the defense. So the first time you get to ask questions of that witness is in the courtroom. You want to talk about live theater? That's what that is. Sometimes it works out great. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, we got what we needed. That's all it is. And you just go for it, right? And that's what I've always said. And I always get, a comment from I'm a civil litigator. I'm a trial attorney. Well, really, how many trials have you done? Well, I've done 6. How long have you been practicing law? 20 years. Wow, you've done 6 trials in 20 years. Wow, I've done 6 trials in like 6 months. I do on average 1 a month. Okay? So I've always said anybody can be a lawyer. Anybody can go to law school. Anybody can go pass the bar exam. It's a lot of common sense stuff, right? Don't steal things, right? Contracts. Offer, acceptance, consideration. What's consideration? Promise, act, or forbearance, bargain for, given in exchange for, the benefit of the promisor, detriment to the promisee, right? I'm giving you something in exchange for something. You're getting something in exchange for something. Consideration, right? I just taught you a semester of contracts law in about 2 minutes there, okay? And that's it, okay? So you do litigation, you go back and forth, but not anybody can be a trial attorney. Like I said, anybody can be a lawyer. Just about everybody can probably do litigation. And let me describe what litigation is. We're going to get the discovery. We're going to get it. We're going to go through with a fine-tooth comb. We're going to send over annoying interrogatories to answer questions that if you just read the answers in the discovery, you'd be fine. Then we're going to schedule a deposition to go over your answers and to see if anything's changed between now and then. And then we're going to set it for trial 2 years down the road. And in the meantime, maybe we'll do some more deposition, but the insurance company attorneys are going to bill the insurance company for 100 of hours. The plaintiff's attorneys are going to try and, keep all the case together, so to speak. And literally it's, we're talking, let's say it's a rear end crash. You could try the case in 3 days, maybe less, but that's what it does. But a litigator is somebody that can pick up a file and say, oh, really? Okay, I got my loved. Let's go. I got this. Okay. It's being able to think on your feet. You don't get to, have somebody review their testimony and then make changes to it, 2 weeks later once they've said, well, what I really meant in the deposition was this. Let me change this answer a little bit. No, in court, you get what you get right there. You don't get to change it. Nobody does. That's why it's such a serious business. And like I said, not everybody can do it. And then, like I said, even if you have somebody who's a pretty good trial attorney, not everybody can be a criminal defense attorney. Okay. But we just remember, criminal defense attorneys, ladies and gentlemen, we represent people. We don't condone what people have done or allegedly done. We represent them. Everybody's got a story. Remember that. Everybody's got a story. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see, have a couple more questions. Let's take a look here. Let's see, take a look. Probably I don't understand. They don't accuse the prosecution. I got blisters on my finger. Okay, yeah. I'm looking at some of these questions. I'm not sure. It's like really, like I said, it's it's hard to tell if there's like a conversation going on in between people. Scott, get Scott after playing Hunt to Killer. Do you play an after game where you try to defend the guilty party? Not sure of that. Sounds like a game. Let's see. They don't accuse the prosecution. Who's that? I'm not sure here. What is the difference between capital murder and felony murder? Good question. Teresa. No, this is TJ Hart. Capital murder, is something that is in theory a capital punishment, i.e. death penalty. Even if you don't have it in most states, there's a lot of states that don't have the death penalty. We got rid of it here. But if it's considered a capital case, it's considered a first-degree murder case. A felony murder is a charge. Usually involves charges like arson, aggravated robbery, burglaries, things that are inherently dangerous in the criminal world, right? So, example, obviously, capital murder. Let's say, for example, there's a guy in Colorado that doesn't like his wife, and she disappears. It's been known to happen here once or twice, right? I don't know. It's the water, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's the big, vast open lands. People think they can get away with it. No one will ever ask where my wife went. I just don't understand that rationale. Okay? It's not like we're talking, a pet. Oh, yeah, a little pet. Had to put her down. Yeah, it happened. Ran away. But your wife, people ask. They have family, friends, coworkers. Where'd she go? I don't know. The mountain lion must have got her. Oh, okay. So that's capital murder. So let's say somebody maybe strangles somebody, stabs them, weapon, something along those lines. Felony murder is, let's say, I don't like the people in the apartment above me. I'm going to smoke them out. And so, you light a little fire, hoping to smoke them out. And basically you set the whole apartment complex on fire and people die. That would be felony murder. Or you go in and rob a gas station with a couple of people. You think, oh, he just brought his little pellet gun. That's not a real gun. Turns out it's a real gun. Shoot somebody, dies. The guy behind the counter has a heart attack and dies in the commission of the offense. Felony murder. You could potentially, depending on the state, if found guilty of felony murder, you can spend the rest of your life in prison. I have had cases where my client's been charged with murder and felony murder, where they thought my person was the trigger person. Usually multiple co-defendants. They're not really sure of, maybe who pulled the trigger, but they know somebody pulled the trigger because the guy just didn't wind up dead on his floor and, somebody snatched his wallet, right? So they go there with the intent to, commit an aggravated robbery, maybe a burglary. They cross the plane of the door, something like that. And somebody died in the commission of that. Felony murder. So I've won on the first degree murder, lost on the felony murder. Because you can be found guilty under felony murder as a complicitor, right? If you aid, encourage, abet, or assist somebody in the commission of an offense, even if you were not the principal, right? The person, identification, you can be guilty just like you'd done it yourself. So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully that does. All right. Let's take a quick, do you have that queued up, Frank? We do a quick recess. Let's take a quick recess here for about 30 seconds, and I will be right back. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription service. You'll be happy you did. If there's anyone out there you were ever curious about what was in their background, now is the time to do it. If you're going to get involved with somebody, now is the time to do it. When you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, you put in the name, literally millions of public records are searched, and a report is generated. And it's going to give you a report. If they have multiple social media accounts, you're going to find it. If they have multiple phone numbers, multiple email addresses, it's going to be found. And more importantly, you're going to get information regarding criminal history. Hopefully the person you're searching has none whatsoever. But if it's there, it's going to be found. You're going to get everything you'd want to know, whether you're going into business or whether you're going into a personal relationship. You're going to be able to find out the information you want to know. So go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy you did. All right, we're back. Now, just real quickly on crimetalksearch.com. I mean, we've been with them. They've been with us literally from the beginning, okay, since we put this program up and together. And we use that background subscription service here at the office, okay? We also have private investigators where they come up with different results. Every now and then we get somebody that calls and says, hey, I ran a background search and there's something that's there that's not there. Sometimes it's on them. Why is it not showing up? Well, it depends. I mean, yes, they're searching literally millions and millions of public records literally while you wait to do that. But it's only as good as the information that's provided. If some jurisdictions haven't made, for example, older cases available, it may not show up. But I'm telling you, it gives you a great start. I would say it is correct 99% of the time, but it depends on the spelling. If somebody, on the court caption, they put an E on the end of the name, it's going to come up differently. So there's lots of little things. Whether I'm hiring a professional private investigator or we start with CrimeTalk Search, I'm telling you, it's only as good as the information that they can search, okay? But I'd say 99.9% of the time, we're satisfied, and I think you will be too. And if you want to, check somebody out, you're just not certain about it, I'm telling you, and you hear more and more of these cases where people meet somebody online and they disappear. They go away because somebody does something terrible to them. I would consider it dating malpractice if you were not checking somebody out, okay? A small subscription, you sign up. Whether you sign up, you can do as many searches as you want. And if you want to cancel, after you do your one search, boom, you're done, okay? You can do that as well. But the point is, it's a nice little tool. We were using it just today, came up, said, yeah, somebody came, well, let's just do a quick search. Bam, we got started. Is that it? No, but it provides us a way to go and check things out. So we use it. I swear we do. And I think you should too. So go check it out. Somebody had a question here about Miss Winnie, whether we could get a Miss Winnie stuck in the Van Gogh on a T-shirt. Now, we could certainly do that, but maybe I just have a quick show of hands of people, who would be interested in that. Because Frank and Julie have a lot to do. They probably say every day, Scott, can you come up with just one more thing for me to do today? They're laughing back there. Just Jimmy, Mods, Frank and Julie, I appreciate your inability to throw water balloons at Scott on occasion. Heather Campbell, $5. Thank you for the super chat. Let's see, Just Jimmy, free law education. L, I think if I pronounce that, Ellie, I loved law school. I had, once I passed the bar, it was much more fun. I just remember being so tired in law school. Most of my classes, I took the evening division so I could work during the day, which was the best experience you could ever get. Is actually working with real attorneys. And I started off in a law firm in college. That's what I was like, the brink, I wasn't going to be able to fly because I hurt my shoulder. I had to have surgery. I was working in a law firm in college. I saw an ad and said, basically a runner. I'm like, I didn't know what the hell that meant, right? And I'm like, okay, I can do it. I'm a pretty responsible guy, flexible with my school schedule at the time. I'm in college. What do I need to do? Just show up, looking presentable. I'm like, I was, in the Marines at the time. And yes, sir, I can do that. Be here on time. I can do that too. Just, do what we tell you to do. Okay, I can do that. Some days it was, hey, run this over. Back in the day, people used to actually have couriers. They would run things, file it. Some days it was, go get me lunch. Go wash my car. I've got an important client coming to town or something. Like, okay. And then it turned into, hey, can you go to the law library and do this? Hey, can you go drive by this red and see what you see, and report back. And those attorneys, they help, make my mind up to go to law school. They helped me get into law school, told me what I should do. That was the best experience. And I still keep in touch with both of them, one a little more than the other, but I consider them a mentor to this day. To this day, they're still practicing law, and, they refer cases to me. I still send a case to them. They're getting to the, semi-retired phase and had a couple of big hits and don't need it, but, don't really need to work. But I'm telling you, if you ever thought about going to law school or like anything in life, go work where you think you want to work, what you want to do, find out what it's really like. Because I remember in law school, there were people that they were getting to their third year and they're, sitting there, you're getting ready to study or, with them. And they're like, I'm not sure this is what I want to do. Like, really? Like, why'd you think this is what you want to do before you started? Well, I don't know. I knew I wanted to go to graduate school. My parents wanted me to go to graduate school, but I really didn't know what I was getting into. And I clerked this summer. I just didn't like it, or they hadn't clerked at all. And they had no idea what they wanted to do. So, anyone out there wants to be, go see what really goes on. When I went to law school, it was the LA Law Days. I don't know, most of you probably don't remember that series, but, everybody walked around and they had their suit jackets on and everything was always so prim and proper. No, they didn't see the stacks of paper on your desk, the working, late evenings and weekends, missing stuff with the family because you were working. They didn't tell you that. And it's a lot different world out there these days. I can tell you that. Young attorneys coming out, when I was there, you just they expected you to work. You better be in before or the same time as, the partner in the firm probably shouldn't leave until he leaves. You were going to work weekends. You were going to work till you got it done. And now it's a much different world where people are like, hey, 8 to 5, man. Yeah, I'll work for a lot less. I'm cool. I'm comfortable with what I got going on. And they just don't want to do it. It blows my mind because I think a lot of the success that I had was busting my butt as a young attorney, and even as a law clerk trying to figure it out. That's where you learn what, you can do. And in fact, that reminds me, one of my mentors, he did a case years ago with Tom Girardi. And I don't know, once again, had some time to watch a couple of things over the week while I was on vacation. And I think it's called The Housewife and the Hustler. And it's the story of his wife, something Jenna, I can't remember, but she's a housewife. I can't forget her name. I forget her name. But about Tom Girardi. And the point is, Tom Girardi, this guy's been practicing law for 50 years. I think he's 80-something now, probably close to 60 years of practicing law. And he's going out in a complete crash and burn ball of flames. And it looks like he stole a ton of money from his clients, like bad stuff. But in the meantime, he's got these private jets, and his wife is, Erica James, right? Erica James was her name. He's producing music videos for her because, his little girl, wants to, be a musician. Probably couldn't really carry a note, but hey, I get it. Whatever. And, it's just interesting, but he was able to get these people for so long where they wouldn't get their settlements. And he was so kind of, influential with the bar that, judges would come running if they saw him in a restaurant and, kiss the ring kind of thing. And it was just, it was kind of sad because I've seen Tom Girardi speak. I've seen him at, seminars and things of that nature. He was a great trial attorney. He won cases. He won hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements. He did the Aaron Brockovich case with the water against PG&E and dumping all their stuff in there. He's the one that came at the end and kind of closed the deal and settled that. And to see somebody, I think at one point he said he had like $100 million in cash and stocks and things like that. And it was all gone in his deposition. And now they're going to go after his wife because, she was, like, what did she know? What did she know? I know it's kind of a digression, but when I started talking about my mentor, he had done a case years ago, and he got a big settlement on that thing. And, it's just, I don't know. It's just, it's sad. We talked the other day about Walter Garash. Not Walter Garash. He's an attorney here in town who is absolutely an incredible attorney. He actually, the book In the Bank Vault, it was a former police officer was accused of going in on a Sunday Father's Day massacre to the United Bank building, going down deep into the coves of, going deep into the underground of the bank and killed 4 security guards, stole the loot. They never found the money. They took him on trial. It was going to be a death penalty case, and he walked. But then we were talking the other day about, I don't know, Walter Garash. It was, he's one of OJ's. Why am I having such a terrible time with names today? Man, must be still on vacation. I got his book over here. Hold on a second. Give me 2 seconds. I don't see it. Bailey. There it is. F. Lee Bailey. I don't know why I was having such a terrible time. Right? There's his book, Cross-Examination. Gives examples. To Scott. Best wishes. F. Lee Bailey. Right? Met the guy. Great attorney. But he spent other clients' money that wasn't his. You can't do that. And it's just sad to see great attorneys, they just rocking and rolling, and just kind of doesn't go well. I hate to see that. Let's see here. Let's see a couple more questions. I am wondering if Lori delays so she can see what happens to Chad. I don't know. If she's faking it, I think they'll find out. I think if the prosecutor, and we're jumping back to the Lori Vallow case, she delaying intentionally. Who knows? The prosecution in the case, they had an expert review the reports. They didn't fight it. They didn't have a hearing on it. They could have easily done that, but they said no. Send her down. Let's have her shrunk. Let's have her restored to competency. There's not really much they could do. Like I said, they could have fought it, had a hearing, but the judge probably goes, well, let's err on the side of caution. And that's fine. But everything she says down there, it gets, they're going to be taking notes. It's coming in. It can be used against them, so to speak. So, we'll see. If she's malingering or faking, it will be apparent rather quickly because they're under 24/7 supervision. And they do that when somebody says, oh, I'm crazy. They watch them. They watch them closely. So we'll see. It's not just a, couple hour interview. Remember Letitia Stout, it was hours and hours of interviews multiple times. They probably talked to the, what was her conduct like when she wasn't here? They're watching them all the time. So if she was completely malingering this, and we don't know. Right? We can say, oh, she's doing that. She's faking. I don't know. But think about this. Because I've represented, ran into a lot of people over the years that had mental health issues. And they looked normal on the outside. How do you know what's going on in somebody's brain? Right? Mental health issues. You just can't say, that's always a problem with like a traumatic brain injury. Right? If you ever know anybody that's had a traumatic brain injury, I got to represent a lot of clients over that. Had a friend that did a lot of traumatic brain injury, personal injury cases. And he would have clients that would be completely normal. They get in a car accident, boom, traumatic brain injury or some other type of accident. And people that were completely normal still look normal on the outside, but they didn't process things appropriately. They would become very aggressive. Right? But they look normal. And everyone's like, oh, there's nothing wrong with them. So you had to bring in the docs and say, no, traumatic brain injury. They look fine. The brain, sometimes it heals rather quickly. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it doesn't ever heal. So you had to be able to use and explain why they did that. Well, she's just blowing off the probation department. Why can't she just do it? Well, she has traumatic brain injury. She has short-term memory loss. You have her write that stuff down in a notebook. She remembers what she has to do. So it's that kind of situation. So I don't know if Lori, she may be literally clinically diagnosed DMS 4 or 5, whatever we're up to these days, crazy with something, right? And have some sort of mental illness, disease, or defect that affects her ability to really understand what's going on. We don't really know. So it's just, we're going to have to wait and see. And unlike Mark Means, who did go to law school and is technically a doctor of jurisprudence, he's not a medical doctor. So let's just wait and see. And like so many of us, we're not medical doctors. We'll have to wait and see. We've got our suspicions. We'd like to see this case move forward. Oh, she's just delaying. We don't know all the information. And sometimes that's the most frustrating part, is waiting. So we really have to try not to speculate too much, because sometimes, next thing, when you run out of things to speculate, you start talking about whether somebody has a dimple in their cheek and they must be lying. Well, maybe they do that every time. Maybe that's a nervous thing. I've seen people, when they get nervous, they do the weirdest things with their mouth, their head. They look around. They don't make eye contact. It doesn't mean they're necessarily lying. It could just mean they're scared as hell. And there are so many people out there with anxiety, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. We were talking about earlier about, people on the witness stand and things like that. I saw a study once. It said, what was the greatest fear people had? The number one greatest fear most people have is public speaking, right? So even if you're just having to listen, but the judge is going to have to say, do you understand that? I've seen literally people freeze. No, yes. I don't know, my attorney, they just freak out. They get panicked. So to sit there and say, oh, you didn't do this. It doesn't do anyone any favors. That's all I'm saying. Okay. And just going back to that study, dying came in number 3. All right. So it was, public speaking. I think number 2 was basically being seen naked, in front of people and things like that. And then death. Public speaking, still, it's up there. So just, when somebody's in court and how are you supposed to look? You're being accused of something. Well, do I look around? Do I not? Each person is different. What I always tell my clients is generally depends on their background. You have to kind of clarify that, right? We've talked about this before. You want them to be themselves, right? If the guy is a gangbanger thug and he's tattooed, you probably don't want to put him in a 3-piece suit, right? I always thought, what would you wear to church on Sunday with grandma, right? That's probably good enough. Right? Sometimes you just got to make sure grandma has some standards too, right? You got to make sure grandma there. But, I've had clients that, they have tattoos on their heads and devil horns and, the damage is already done tattooed. I'm not going to put him in a suit, okay? We're going to put him in a T-shirt or, a button-down collar shirt or something, and that's it. And that's it. So it's so different. So that's what I'm saying. That's why listening to court, you really should, look at the defendant. Okay, look at him, right? But don't look at him, because that's not what's important. What's important is the evidence in a courtroom. And the only thing that's evidence in a courtroom is what comes out of a witness's mouth as to what they saw, what they heard, somebody say, if it's admissible, usually the defendant's own words. That's it. And then any physical evidence that's properly relevant and properly admitted into evidence. That's what's competent and legal evidence, not the way somebody twitches their mouth. Okay? So I don't know. I don't know why that bugged me, but I watched that when I was on vacation last week, and I just can't, Sylvia, just thank you for being a super guy. Well, just happens to be a lawyer. Well, thank you. But, if you had to hang out with me, you'd probably get tired of me really quick. Some days not some days, every day, I still consider myself the luckiest guy in the world that the lovely Miss Kristen lets me hang around, because some days I get distracted. I look at my phone. I'm not paying attention as well as I should have. And even though I know better that she deserves my undivided attention when I'm with her, I don't always do that. So I'm sorry. So anyway, that's where we're at. Let's take a look at these overall thoughts on the Ronnie O'Neill trial. He was the guy that was yelling, killed his girlfriend, wife, their handicapped daughter, and then stabbed and tried to burn to death his son. Took 4 hours for the jury to deliberate. Sounds like they were thoughtful and deliberate, and came back with the appropriate verdict, because he did admit, although he didn't testify, he did admit in closing summation that, okay, yeah, I did kill my wife, but I didn't kill my daughter. Didn't try to kill my son. Cut me some slack here, ladies and gentlemen. I can't believe this is why you don't represent yourself. It's why you get an attorney. All right. Wow. It goes by so fast. It really, really does. Cannot believe it. Look at all these questions. Man, we didn't get to it. Well, that's why, though, we have our Patreon show coming up next. Hopefully you're Patreon. If not, please join. We'll send you a link. You'll be able to log in. And on top of that, you can call in and talk to me. And we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. And it is a lot less people, so your questions get answered. And even better yet, like I said, you get to call in. So we like that. All right. Already over an hour. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every one of you who showed up tonight. Whoever watches this, I appreciate that as well, because I know you have lots of other things you could be doing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Hopefully you learned something. We learned about our little loved summary. We talked about reasonable doubt. Hopefully we put something out there that maybe you didn't know before. All right. So thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night. We'll see everyone hopefully on Patreon here in just a minute. But if not, we'll see you next time on Crime Talk.